What's going on, everybody? It's the Mark of Fear Crads. Today I'm bringing you guys some Villa Domination. Wow, that was a terrible intro. What's going on, everybody? It's Toom. And considering the fact that you guys liked the last commentary that I put out, the real one anyway, that had to do with a life story about getting bullied, I figured that I would go ahead and continue the trend, talking about some of basically my family stuff. And let's go ahead and hop into it. Alright, so I've pretty much grown up an only child all of my life. I do have, God siblings. If you guys know what that means, it's basically those are siblings that other families entrust to your parents in case something happens to them. And basically that's what my parents have. I believe my parents have 6 or 7 god kids, and that's a lot of kids, and they all range in different ages. But I am the second oldest, I believe, out of their quote-unquote children. My parents only were able to have one child. My parents had me really late. My pops had me when he was, I think, 40. My mom was 39 when she had me. So my parents are relatively old with a really young kid. And my grandparents, on the other hand, they had their children really young. I believe my grandparents are in their 80s. My grandparents on my father's side are the only ones that are living. My parents on my mom's side, they're both dead. And the ones that are dead, my mom's parents, they really did care about me. They were some of the most supportive people that I've ever had to associate with or know as people that love them. And I want to say that if you guys have grandparents, please talk to them while they're still living, because you're gonna regret the day that they're gone and they're not gonna be around anymore. I know I regret not saying goodbye to my grandfather before he passed, and if you guys are probably wondering what the entire deal is with that, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. Back in 2004, actually, scratch that. My mom's grandfather, he worked as a window washer in Philadelphia, and he was a relatively wealthy man, and which is pretty much the reason why I was able to have the things that I had as an only child. I honestly was, I had everything that I wanted. Like if you guys remember scooters, like you remember those, if you lived in the U.S., those were like the little 2-wheel things with like brakes on the end of them. You could do friggin' tricks and kick flips and 720 ladder stalls and stuff like that. But I was really well taken care of and doted upon by my grandparents, because I was the only one that they had. I was the only grandchild that they had, and so they were going to spoil me rotten if it was if it was going to cost them their lives. And my grandmother on my mother's side, she loved me to death. She called me brown sugar, and that's actually what my personal Twitter is. I think that's what I'm gonna make it anyway. My grandfather passed in 2004 of cancer, actually. I think he also had emphysema. I can't remember what else he had, but he basically got it from secondhand smoke. The people that he worked with, the guys that he associated with and worked with, they were heavy smokers, and my grandmother was a smoker as well. And my grandmother died last year in 2010 of like June of lung cancer. And my grandmother hadn't picked up a cigarette in, I think, 16 or 17 years. It was something along those lines. Smoking in my family is it's a big thing. My parents, my mom anyway. My dad has done, your typical drugs and stuff, but my mom was she was like 2-pack a day woman, and she quit that before she had me, and she's at risk for lung cancer because once you smoke, it changes your DNA, and my grandmother smoked. All of my grandparents smoked, actually, because it's just what they did. And I asked them, I was like, wait, what do you mean everybody smoked? That was just something that you did. Back in those days, when you had people come over to your house, you either had 2 things. You had smokes and you had liquor. And my grandparents, or all of them, they had both. And it's kind of ironic, the fact that my grandfather died in 2004 of cancer, and my grandmother died last year, the same thing. And I honestly find it I find it kind of weird, because my grandfather, he worked all of his life to be able to build what he had built, and he did it for us. He did it for me. He did it for my mom. And he did it for my dad. He worked extremely hard. My grandfather would get up at 4 a.m. and he would be up before the sun rose, and he would be home after the sun set. And he would be out all day. I remember I went out with him one time when he had a job, and I think we left the crib at maybe 3 a.m. and we didn't get back until I think 1 or 2 the next day. And it was nice being able to run with my grandfather, and being able to spend time with him was a very valuable experience. And I honestly think that experience was one of the really last good memories of him, because after that, he was diagnosed with his cancer, and it was pretty much downhill from there. His body deteriorated, and he ended up being in a hospital bed for the remainder of his life. He was hooked up to tubes and a life support system helping him breathe. And they actually had to restrain him, because otherwise he would have taken the entire tubes out and just walked out of the hospital. And at the time, I believe I was maybe 10, I think. And, excuse me. Alright, sorry, I had to cut the commentary there. I was getting a little choked up. He was restrained to his hospital bed because he would have taken the tubes out, like I was saying. And he hated being sick, and I didn't want to see him like that. So before he died, we went up to Philadelphia to spend time with him and take care of all the business, take care of his house. And that's pretty much when, our lives, my life, my parents' lives, all started to fall apart. My grandfather was a very wealthy man because of the amount of work that he did, and he saved his money. He was a very cheap man, very frugal man, only spent what he needed to spend. And when he died, my grandmother basically took his stuff, basically took his will, took his money. Before he died, he moved in with her, and they were divorced. And he moved in with her, and she basically took she took his money, she took his business, took his house, and after that, she just left me and my mom out to dry. She basically took our inheritance. And now I am in no way complaining. I love my life. I love the way my life has turned out. Now, everything could be better, but shit, everything else could be worse. I mean, I go to a private school where I only go to school 2 days out of the week. Now, I don't know too many people who have a schedule like mine. I don't know too many people who could ever do anything like I do. And I would honestly like to say that I feel blessed, the fact that I'm able to have the type of life that I'm able to have. Now, of course, everything would be better if my grandmother hadn't decided to step in and interfere with me and my mother's inheritance, because my dad had basically had a plan for when my grandfather passed, and he and my grandfather had discussed this, and I was going to be set up in a really, really good private school here in Atlanta. And my mom was going to be taken care of. We were going to liquidate all of his assets, take the money, invest it, and save it, and put some money away for my college. And now I'm a flat broke college kid who's going to have to depend on scholarships for for college. And that's not a bad thing. I find it I find it kind of funny that I'm gonna have to work my ass off, and it wasn't exactly intended to be like that. My grandfather didn't want me to work for anything. He wanted everything to be taken care of for me, because that's just the type of man he was. And it's nice to be able to be loved by somebody to that extent, that they would do anything for you. They would do anything to make you happy. And I honestly, it's one of those things that really, it's a really humbling experience to be able to have family members that care about you like that. My grandmother loved me. Oh my God, my grandmother would do freaking anything for me, and so would my grandfather. So would any of my grandparents. But my grandmother, the one thing that she would do anything for besides me, she would do anything for money, and that's basically what she did. She took my grandfather's stuff and spent it. If you guys are wondering what she spent it on, I basically talked about this in a commentary on my old channel. My grandmother, she took my grandfather's money, and I mean, it probably doesn't matter how much I say how much the money is, but it was $750,000, and my grandmother just spent it and pissed it away, and now I'm dealing with the effects of that, and I'm working out in my brain how to handle that emotionally. But if you guys would like to hear another side of this, or you would like to hear the rest of this story, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. I'm Toom. I'm out. Deuces.